Thank you, ma'am. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Patsy Bryson. I'm the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the town of Hilton Head Island. And I call to order the April 25, 2022 regular meeting of the town of Hilton Head Island Board of Zoning Appeals. Ms. Haley, are we in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act known as FOIA?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
All right. And Ms. Haley, will you please call our roll?
Certainly. Mr. Christian,
Present.
Mr. Walzak,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Fingerhut,
Present.
Ms. Bryson,
Present.
and Ms. Laudermilk and Dr. Ponder are excused.
And we still have a quorum. Is that correct, Ms. Haley?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Great. Thank you very much. At this time, I'll welcome those who may be listening in via Zoom, and also to board members, any other, to the staff members, and any members of the public who are listening in. With regard to the board procedures today, we had one item on our agenda, and that is under new business, a variance request. My agenda notes show that it was postponed. I think it was postponed last week. And I just sent Ms. Lewick an email. It could have been right before the meeting started, but I think there was some issue with perhaps the notice deadline. So I don't know whether this matter is being postponed or whether it will be pulled from the agenda and start over again. Ms. Lewick, just so I need to let folks know whether or not we need to follow a procedure today.
Sure. Missy Lewick, principal planner for the record. The applicant did not make the public notice mailing deadline, and so therefore we had to postpone this public hearing because the public notice requirements were not met.
Okay, so does the board need to take any action on that when we get to that matter?
Like a formal postponement?
Yes.
If you wish to proceed with a postponement, that would be great. But
Okay.
technically, the public notice requirements weren't met,
Yes.
so we couldn't hold the hearing anyway. So however you'd like to handle that.
Yeah, I think it might be good for us to take action. I'm not sure under our rules, under our current rules, if it's automatically postponed. And I know Mr. Coltrane is listening in. If we need to do anything differently, if Mr. Coltrane will advise us when we get to that item. But for now, I won't discuss any variance procedures because we will not hear that today. Which then leads me to approval of the agenda. With that note that matter will not be on the considered today. Does the staff or any board members have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Christian, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Mr. Walczak. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Haley, will you call the roll on that motion?
Certainly. Mr. Johnson,
Yeah, for the motion.
Mr. Fingerhut,
For the motion.
Mr. Christian,
For the motion.
Mr. Walzak,
For the motion.
Ms. Bryson.
For the motion.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of March 28, 2022. Are there any changes to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of
So
March
moved.
28? Motion made by Mr. Fingerhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Christian. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Haley, will you call the roll on the motion?
Certainly. Mr. Christian,
For the motion.
Mr. Walzak,
For the motion.
Mr. Johnson,
For the motion.
Mr. Fingerhut,
For the motion.
Ms. Bryson.
For the motion.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on our agenda is appearance by citizens. Ms. Haley, do we have any appearance by citizens?
Madam Chair, we do not have any appearance by citizens. At the conclusion of the public comment period, there were no requests to give public comments by phone, and there were no public comments submitted electronically via the Open Town Hall portal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Chair is not aware of any unfinished business. The next item is new business, and that is the public hearing on variance request VAR 000-620-2022. Request from John Nicholas Crago for a variance from LMO section 16-4-102B7C. Use specific conditions for principal uses for proposed screened outside storage of bicycles in the light commercial or LC district where outside storage of bicycles is not allowed. This is the one for which the notice was not achieved in time. And at this time, Mr. Coltrane, do we need to have a motion to approve the postponement? And I guess, Ms. Lewick, would that be to our May meeting? Will there be enough notice time for the May meeting?
Yes, ma'am, there is enough notice for the next meeting. And also for the rules, the town, the applicant, or a board member can request a postponement. In this case, the town sent you the request for the postponement due to the reason that the applicant didn't meet public notice. The chair can grant without any board action up to a 3-month postponement.
Yes, and I seem to recall, was this the one where there was a previous request for a postponement because the applicant was going to be out of town, and I did grant a 1-month postponement?
Yes, this application has come up before. However, the original request was withdrawn based on some feedback that we had with the applicant, and then we subsequently had to inform the applicant that the reason for that withdrawal determination was no longer valid and that he needed to reapply again. So this is a new request, but for the same thing.
Okay, so the chair can grant then the postponement for up to 3 months. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Sorry, I did not understand. This matter had come up before, and that's why I was a bit confused about where we were in the process. So it sounds as though we do not need board action, that the chair can continue this matter to the May meeting under the rules of procedure.
That's correct.
Mr. Coltrane, I see you leaning forward. Any?
That is correct.
Okay.
Nothing else needs to be done.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all's help. I will take care of that. So we'll move on then. No other new business to the board business. And the first item on that agenda, under board business, is adoption of amendments to the rules of procedure. Ms. Lewick, you present us with a staff report and with the minutes which we discussed at our March meeting. Anything else, Ms. Lewick, to report?
There is nothing new to report. They are the same set of rules amendments that were before you last month, and no changes have been made. So it could be, if it's your desire, up for adoption today.
Okay. I would ask for a motion to adopt the amendments to the rules of procedure of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Christian, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. Any discussion on the motion or on the proposed amendments?
Let's vote on it and get it on the record.
Thank you, sir. All right, it sounds like Ms. Haley, absent anyone else speaking, we are ready for the roll call on the motion.
Certainly. Mr. Johnson,
For the motion.
Mr. Fingerhut,
For the motion.
Mr. Christian,
For the motion.
Mr. Walzak,
For the motion.
Ms. Bryson.
With gratitude for the motion.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right. Thank you all. So we will have those in place, and Ms. Lewick or Ms. Haley, I guess you will send us the clean version for us to use in our next for our next meeting. That moves us on to staff reports. Mr. Coltrane, we call on you for status of appeals to circuit court or any other courts.
Not much change since last time, although the Sandcastles by the Sea matters, there has been an agreement reached between the town and the owners who filed the 6 appeals, as well as all of the owners along the common boundary with the town property. The settlement agreement was approved by town council last week. There is an ordinance that's been given first reading that upon second reading will have the town convey a very small strip of land to the owners that will then be consolidated with their lots, that will have the effect of moving the buffer line far enough away from their house so as to encompass the improvements that were improperly made and unpermitted improvements that were made by the owners. The owners are paying the appraised value for the property plus a prorated part of the town's cost incurred in preparing the survey and doing some other things. I think it's probably a good resolution of those suits. But the situation there, I think, points to some issues that council will have to grapple with going forward in terms of, this style of subdivision where you have very, very small lots and upon which people might try to, cram too much. But the case is not only the 6 that filed appeals, but all of their neighbors that abut the town land participated in it. So we will not have any more issues with those folks. None of the folks who had properties abutting the Hilton Head Beach and Tennis filed an appeal. That group has a different set of problems from these problems, meaning that the agreement and covenants in favor of Hilton Head Beach and Tennis prevented them from doing what they were doing, and I'm not sure where those are going to go. No appeals were filed from there, though, so your orders there are the final word from the town.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions from board members of Mr. Coltrane about that matter?
Curtis, for those of us who weren't on the board when that was an issue, can you give me a real quick nutshell of what the issues were?
The issue was that some of the owners in Sandcastles by the Sea, and I'll limit this to the ones who abutted the town property, built their houses, and then once they had their certificates of completion and COs, installed additional improvements on the rear of their property consisting of some pavers and swimming pools and things like that that encroached into the setback and buffer surrounding the subdivision. Violations were noted. Some of them filed appeals. The board declined to grant the appeals because the work was unpermitted and extended into the buffers. 6 of them filed appeals to circuit court. At council's direction, we engaged in a process of trying to find a way to solve their problem because of the sort of unique circumstances surrounding the lots that abut the town property. We were able to achieve a resolution that doesn't require anyone to tear anything out, sets the issue for not only the ones who appealed, but all of the people along that strip, and resolves it for all those folks.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions of other board members?
I want to compliment the town, whoever figured this out, for using common sense and coming up with a viable solution.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other board members? As far as the chair goes, Mr. Coltrane, I know I'm heartened that the town council is going to look at the situation with these small lots in the subdivision. So I think our board had discussed that previously, and I hope that, personally, I hope as a board member that the town council will proceed with that. Any other matters to report to us on, Mr. Coltrane?
No, the appeal in the Court of Appeals arising out of the 2 lots on Bradley Circle was argued before the Court of Appeals in early February. No decision has been made yet, so nothing has changed on that one since the last meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions about that matter from board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. And that is one we can skip over. It's the, I'm sorry, it's not the status of rules amendments. It's the status of LMO amendments. Sorry, Ms. Dixon, you didn't get out of that one. We'll come back to you, Ms. Dixon, for a staff report on the status
Sure.
of LMO amendments.
Thank you. I don't have any report at this time. The amendments are still being drafted by our on-call code writing team. So once we get those back, I will update you all, but right now we're waiting on them.
Okay, all right. Any questions from board members of Ms. Dixon about that matter? Hearing none, we'll move on to the waiver report. I'm looking at my agenda to see, did we have a waiver report? Let me pull it up. Yes, there is a waiver report submitted by Ms. Lewick once again, dated April 19. It's at the very end after the amended rules of procedure. Are there any questions about that waiver report, or shall we note for the agenda that the waiver report was made? Hearing no questions, we will include that report in our minutes that the board received a written copy of the report and that there were no questions about the report. At this time, I don't see any other business on the agenda. Ms. Lewick, Ms. Haley, have I missed anything?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
It sounds as though then anything else from board members? If
Move
not,
adjourned.
Mr. Christian, move that we adjourn. I was just going to ask for that. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Fingerhut. Ms. Haley, will you call the roll on that motion?
Certainly. Mr. Walzak,
His finger
fourth.
going up says yes.
For the motion.
I can read fingers.
Mr. Johnson,
For the motion.
Mr. Fingerhut,
For the motion.
Mr. Christian,
For the motion.
Ms. Bryson.
Before I move, I see Councilmember Stanford join us. Thank you for joining us. There's another council member I missed. We welcome you as well, and I vote for the motion. So we are adjourned at 2:48 p.m. and thank you all, and we will see you next month.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.